and then we'll get started. So tonight, as you know, we're doing Have a Go at Hypnosis. So, but before I get started, what I want to do is do tonight in two halves. In that the first half, or quarter, depending on how many questions we've got, is going to be about you guys getting to grips with what is hypnosis. Is it something I can use on my own? Is it something that you need someone guiding? Is it what's it for? What can I use it for? Is it something that would benefit me? And then the second half, or the latter part of the session, we're just going to have a go. So I'm going to run you through a guided hypnosis. I do have a rough plan, although I will be guided a little bit extra by you guys here tonight and what you feel you need. I'll give you my ideas and then we'll go from there. So I guess the first question is to you guys that are here tonight, is hypnosis something that you've had a go at before? Is it something that you fancy, or is it something, what's your thoughts on it at this initial stage? Sharon's nodding.
I'm really keen on it. I used hypnosis to stop smoking quite a few years ago. It was really you work straight away.
Ah, fantastic. That's good. That's really good. Good to hear. So it's something that you're quite open to. And when you had that first experience, how were you going into that session when you went to smoking?
Yeah, I just thought I'd give it a go. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah,
see what happens, because what's the worst that can happen is I keep smoking.
yeah. And that's a great way to come into it, because one of the things that I will say about hypnosis is that the person experiencing it has to want it to work. It's kind of like, it's no different to if you went into a riding lesson and you just thought, this instructor's going to be no good for me. Like, in the same breath, you wouldn't take the suggestions or the advice from that coach the same. And it's just the same with most other types of coaching, but hypnosis definitely more so, because it requires that relaxation, which if someone comes with a certain tension or apprehension, it makes it more difficult. And what about Sue, Emma? Is it something that you guys have done before?
Well, unsurprisingly, the only other time that I tried it was when we did it in the group a couple of years ago, and I have to admit I did fall asleep.
Yeah. And again, this is about finding the environment that's right for you. So
I'm not lying on the bed today, I'm sitting in my chair.
Yeah, which might be better. The other thing that you might find is if you were listening to the hypnosis kind of stuff that's in the portal, especially as we start, you've got some really cool stuff that's getting added. Probably between now and Christmas, you'll see a massive ramp up of the stuff in that section. If you are someone, I mean, I'm in that camp. If I sort of do it past 3 o'clock in the afternoon, to be honest, it doesn't have to be now at 7:30. I'm just too tired. And just like anything, if you're just too tired, it is a relaxing thing, and you can just end up. The hypnotic state I would describe as very similar as that moment just before you fall asleep, when you kind of, your brain starts to think about the day or think about things that are on your mind, but you are awake. If somebody walked into the room, for example, you would notice. You've not gone into that deep sleep where you wouldn't notice that happening. So, but if you are too tired, you will just go beyond that point and go to sleep. So for me, it's something that I much prefer to do, which is why I don't get to do it as often as I would like. I prefer to do it in the morning, which is difficult sometimes to fit into your day, but it's something that to think about. What time of day is best for me when I'm going to do this. And sometimes as well, it's making the environment, like Emma said, sitting up there, sometimes being in a chair rather than being lied down. Other people just really, really want to be lied down during it and wouldn't be able to feel relaxed otherwise. So it is about making it personal to you. What about yourself, Sue? Is it something you've done before or got any preconceptions about?
No, I did do it before. In fact, when I constantly used to feel like I were really down. And when I felt like that, I used to go and have this done, and it was absolutely amazing. Really good. And then the bugger were moving, so I never had it done again. And I used to think, God, I need it. But now I've listened to tapes in car, and I was just trying to think then, not tapes, CD in car, but I can't think what they called it. But she was really good. And it was just like affirmations that you'd You know, so you'd go, let's see, I am good at this. And then you'd say, maybe it wasn't that, but you are good at this. So it was just like, it was like that. And I used to listen to it on my way to work, because I used to have like, oh God, I don't want to go to work or stuff like that. And I'd listen to that and I felt so much more positive when I got to work. It was really good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. And that leads me on to something I wanted to mention tonight, actually, in that I think hypnosis works best when you combine it with the other skills that you've got. So I love to combine it with, for example, visualization, or as Sue said there, the affirmations are another one that it goes really well with. And I've actually got a little treat coming your way in the post. You've got some little affirmation cards arriving. So you can look forward to them arriving in the post. Some of them are sentences that I kind of feel are quite important for your writing, but some of them I've left blank so that you guys can put in the pieces that you need, because some of it will be personal to you as well. But absolutely. So for example, if you had a hypnosis, let's say you went for hypnosis, let's use something fairly common, like you want to get more confident riding in front of other people, for example. But you might have worked with that hypnotherapist, and I do think this is quite important to go and understand the root of why we don't like riding in front of other people. So let's say the root cause of that for this person that I'm making up is that they don't have confidence in themselves as a rider. So they feel they're far inferior to the others, let's say. Let's make it quite surface level, yeah? So let's say then they might have made some affirmations, a bit like Sue said there, that says, I am learning, I'm allowed to make mistakes, perhaps another affirmation that reminds them of where they've come from and all the progress they've made. They might have another one that says, everyone's concerned with their own selves when they're competing, stuff like this. And what these affirmations do is they kind of reiterate and repeat what's been done in the hypnosis, which can then almost exaggerate the effect and speed up the effect of it, and also keep the effect of it more long term as well. The other thing that I really like to do is create little short recordings, excuse me, sort of 5-10 minutes long. So, and again, just kind of taking the main points of the hypnosis that you've had into something that you could do much more likely 3-4 times a week, because it's 5-10 minutes long. The other thing you can do, this might be good for you, Emma, and this wouldn't actually be classed as hypnosis per se, it would probably be classed as active meditation. It would go into meditation rather than hypnosis. But if you just don't get on with the kind of level of relaxation of hypnosis, you could go to meditation. And something I love is active meditation. A bit like Sue said, she's driving along, but she's listening to something. So what you have to be doing, and probably driving might be slightly, I won't talk about driving because it might be leading into causing an accident, so I won't use that as an example. I personally do it, but I shouldn't probably advise it. But mucking out's a good one. It's like a mundane activity that you could literally do with no thought. You can just do it. Doing the washing, doing the dishes, hoovering, going for a walk maybe with a well-behaved or without a dog, or on a quiet road where you're not going to get interrupted, but something where you're just putting one foot in front of the other, you know, and it's like so easy. That's when you can do a guided meditation. So sorry, an active meditation. So you're not thinking about like, I'm going to listen to it while I'm doing my work emails, because your brain won't be thinking about it. But if you're doing a very repetitive task, you could be listening to a guided meditation, and you could equally listen to a hypnosis recording whilst doing something active. It would have a very similar effect, but you would just find that your brain waves would stay in a slightly more alert state, but the effect would be very similar. And the key is, if that works better for you, that is going to be better than trying to submit yourself to kind of laying down and listening to it if that just isn't what you're going to enjoy. Does that make sense? The science of it is that you're offering an alternative suggestion to the way that you're thinking. So if you took the real logical, like a same goal that we're going for, but we're going to do it with our logical brain rather than our subconscious brain, that would look something like CBT, so cognitive behavioral therapy, and reframing your thoughts. So it would be, okay, will someone give me a negative thought that they maybe at some point have had? It doesn't have to be a recent one. So what's a
Just, I'm not good enough to do this.
yeah, I'm not good enough to do this. Yeah, really common one. So that's a good one. So what CBT would do is take that thought and say, is there an alternative perspective that you could put on that thought? So what would be the opposite of that? Could you reframe it in any way?
Well, the opposite would be, I am good enough to do it.
Yeah. So that would be the first thing. And then they'd say, okay, give me some evidence that shows me that you are. So you've just told me the opposite is good enough to do it. What's the evidence that you're good enough to do it? So in your example, it might be like today riding Spike, how good you rode him, like reminding yourself of the feeling and the fact that you know, were pretty spot on through the whole of the session riding him. Like that's a good example of I'm good enough. Yeah. So, and I didn't know what your I'm not good enough was about, but just pulling that example. Yeah. If
Yeah,
it was
that was
riding,
pretty accurate. Yeah.
yeah. Then that would be an example that makes sense. And so that's what cognitive behavioral therapy does. It asks you logically to tell someone the opposite and then asks for evidence. And then the next thing they'd ask you to go and do is go and do something practical that confirms that. So act in a way that is coherent with believing, in Emma's case there, I am good enough. So that might look like, and you'd work with the therapist on this, and it might look something like, right, okay, so knowing that I'm good enough, next time I know Emma's going to a clinic on Tuesday, so it'd be something like, actually, when I go to the clinic on Tuesday, going there with the attitude that I've got this, done my homework, we're good enough to do this, would be describing my horse in quite a positive light, taking charge of the warm up in the clinic, so I do it to my individual taste, I don't get led by the others. This would be a start to showing that she believes in her own strength. That makes sense? So the hypnosis is doing the same thing, but rather than doing it in a logical way where you're sat very alert thinking about it, you're doing it in a subconscious state and being guided by the suggestions of the person leading the hypnosis. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you went for a hypnosis, which was to do with, let's say, smoking, that would probably be showing you all the alternative reasons why this was a negative habit, maybe even giving you, depending on the type of hypnosis, sometimes it might even show you, in that case, when it's a habit like that, it might show you some really detrimental things that could occur from that happening, yeah? Or the other type, you know, if it's something quite positive, like showing you that you are enough, it would probably ask you to access that evidence, but in a subconscious, relaxing way, the times that you did really well. And then it would maybe ask you to look forward and see how would you behave in this situation in the future. Does that make sense? So can you see how there's a real parallel between what seems like two very opposite types of therapy, but the only thing that matters really is what suits the individual. Which one are they going to enjoy doing? And for me, that makes the big difference. And absolutely, you can meet that in the middle and do a bit of both. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So if we're going to do this hypnosis tonight, so I've got a rough idea of what I want to do. So I was wanting to start with some general relaxation just to get you guys in the groove. And then I've planned where we're going to go forward in time to your next goal. So the next thing that you're going to be doing with your horse, where you feel, yes, it's going to go well, like practically. This is not something that's like 5 years away. This is something that's like the next step. But you feel like I could do with a bit of support that I believe I'm going to do that thing well. Yeah. And we're going to go through that event. And we're going to future pace to that event and go through it and visualize how it's going to go. Okay. So what I just want to make sure is, as I say that, do you all feel that you have a kind of next thing that you're overcoming?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So does anyone mind sharing what theirs is going to be?
Mine is definitely the clinic on Tuesday.
Tuesday, yeah, perfect. So the clinic, and that's a really good one because it's like logically, you know, you've done your homework. There's nothing that really, if you were really like unemotionally attached to it, just from a practical point of view, yeah, should be absolutely fine. But there's a part of you that's going, I'm a bit apprehensive. So that's like a perfect example. Yeah. What about you, Sue?
The cantering in the arena, I want to go do that.
Yeah,
Obviously, I've got to just hang fire a little bit at the moment, but only a week or two, and I should be able to try it. But
yeah, and that's a
yeah.
really good time frame. Like if you've got something coming up in a few weeks, you
Yeah.
could then like affirm this, like you said, with your affirmations and your visualizations after tonight until it comes. So by the time you come to doing your cantering, you'll hopefully be thinking, I'm a bit looking forward to it.
I
Which
do
is,
visualize it, you know, all the time.
and how
I
does that go?
visualize just going just like smoothly around the arena, just like boom, 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 boom. Always do that.
And how does
Always
that,
in my mind.
does that make you feel better?
Makes me feel amazing, and I can just do it.
Oh, good.
That in my yeah, it feels really good. Honestly, it's really weird, and I think, God, it seems so stupid that I can't do that. Because believe me, for years I've done it a little bits with him, but I've never got that flow of just going, unless I'm going up a field and then we get it. But I want to do it in arena because I want to do prelim. So
Yeah. And some
that's
of that, Sue, might be that he finds it easier up the field.
yeah,
So some
yeah,
of that
in
might be,
straight lines. Yeah.
yeah, it might be building that strength up for him too. And again, that's where the confidence comes into it, to know like actually it's my confidence I need to give him a kick.
Yeah.
Or actually, I still feel confident that this is going to happen. And if he breaks into trot, I'm just going to ask him again. But I'm not going to blame myself. I'm just going to, go forward and ask him at the next corner. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's yours, Sharon?
So it might be I've got a cross country clinic at the end of the month.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, it's a good one. But it's like the jumping I don't mind, but it's the cantering again, being in the open field. That worries me. So
Well, like the opposite. I love that in open field. Aren't we? God.
It is always the way that you'll have somebody that's, I've had people before that'll say, oh, I'm terrified of being judged in the dressage, and then someone else will say, oh no, it's my nemesis, and then someone else will say, oh no, I'm absolutely fine in the dressage, but I can't hack. And then we've all got our own foilables for sure. So just before we get started, I've sent you through on the WhatsApp. It's in the information only. You don't have to use this, but if you want to, you can. There's just a little bit of trance music. So for some people, it feels more relaxing to have a background noise. Again, that's individual. If you just want to have a little play with it, have a little listen yourself and just see, do I want that going? It just sounds a lot nicer coming your end than it does my end, because if it breaks up at all, it ruins the flow.
Where have you sent it, Alex?
It's in the information only WhatsApp group. Hopefully you're in that group, Sue.
I don't think I am. I've only got one group with you.
Have you? I'll invite you in now.
I've been missing out all this time.
I did wonder if you were in that group, if I'm honest, because...
Have you never commented on it?
Just sent you a link to join the other group, Sue.
Oh my goodness me, Alex. Never been in it. I'm in it.
She's in it. She's in it. I don't know if you can see the recording now, though, or you might not be able to because...
No, because it's passed into it.
Yeah, so let me just send it to you privately.
All right. Thank you.
It might just take a few moments because it's quite a big file.
Oh, no, it's here.
Oh, wonderful.
So, if you were saying you can do the, like the affirmations or the active meditation, are they sort of pre-recorded, or do you have to make those yourself?
So you can do either. So there's some in the Literate Members area.
Okay.
Or you can record your own. So if you're interested in recording your own, there's a whole training in the members area called, I think it's called Have a Go at Hypnosis, but it's rather than this one where we're practically doing a hypnosis, that one is all about what you should include in a hypnosis, what kind of suggestions, what words, how you'd structure it, basically how you could make your own. And again, that's individual. So for some people, it's really nice listening to their own voice, and you can make it super individual then, because no one's listening apart from you. You can literally say like bluntly what you want to say, swear at yourself if you want, it doesn't matter. And that is for some people really nice, especially if there's something that's maybe like super personal that they don't even want to share with me or a different therapist, but they know they want to grow through it. That can be really useful. But for other people, I'm in this camp. I just can't listen to my own voice. I just think, oh God, you just sound awful, and I just can't. So again, it's personal. There's some people in the group that I know have made their own, and they've really enjoyed doing that. So it's something to have a go at. Maybe if you do your first one, an easy way to do it is to just record a voice memo on your phone, and just do something for 5 minutes and listen to it while you're making a cup of tea in the morning or whatever, and just see what you think to it. And again, or you could listen to some of the longer recordings that we've done within the group, and listen to that. It's kind of like how I describe it, the active meditation. It's like, like if you listen to a podcast, and maybe there's a strong point of view through that podcast that you're listening to while you've gone on a dog walk. And then have you ever found yourself for the rest of the day or even the week kind of acting incongruence to that line of thought? Have you ever done something like that? And you just maybe act a little bit differently or make a slightly different decision because that's primed you to think that way or given you the motivation to think that way. Does that make sense? So your active meditation is like that, except rather than a podcast, which is not actually about you, this is solely about you. So you can put in there exactly how you need to change your thought processes. Does that make sense? So if you were listening to a meditation that, for you, it's important that, this brings me on to the next bit, it's very important that it aligns to your thinking. So it's not as bad for active meditation because you're not as relaxed, but with hypnosis, if you're in that relaxed state and then somebody says something that you just like don't agree with, or even an accent that you find irritating or something like that, it can just instantly just wake you up. Same as someone walking through the door. Does that make sense? So, but you absolutely can record them yourself, or you can, it's something that you could listen to and make. So some of the active ones that we're doing, so we've got this date on the 20, well, it's in August. What's the date? I'll tell you. On the 27th of August. So that's when we're recording with Equidance. So we're making some active, I don't want to quite call them meditations, but guided rides that you can ride with. And Tony's going to put the music to it so that it fits the horse as well from Equidance. So that'll be something I think will be really good for you, Emma, because it's something that can just help you, give you guidance, suggestions, but not expect you to not be doing, not keep your body active. Does that make sense? And ultimately with this stuff, just mess about with it, have a go, see what works for you, see what you like. But then when you find the thing that you like use it. Because then you can really make a big difference. Like Sue said, even just driving to work with something that's changing her way of thinking on the way to work. If you do that every single day, that will, by the end of 6 months, have had a really big difference to, in that example, like Sue's performance at work. And it can just be while you're doing something else, while you're mucking out, while you're doing something mundane like the dishes. To be honest, I like doing stuff like that because you feel like you're not wasting any time and you feel like you're actually starting to enjoy that really mundane thing. Yeah. Has anyone got any other questions before we get going?
No.
You feeling all right? And we can obviously open for questions afterwards as well. You can let us know how you felt, and then we can go from there. Does everyone got the music? Yeah. So how I'm literally going to start is if you just play your music, I'm just going to talk like nonsense for a moment, just for 10 seconds, just so you can make sure that as I'm talking now, the music's at the right volume for you over my voice. So that once we get started, I'm literally just talking for the sake of it now. Does that make sense? So that once we get started, your music's at the right volume. Did you have a question, Emma?
Yeah, I was just going to say, if we don't all start at exactly the right time, should we be on mute then?
I probably would mute, yeah. Just if we're doing the hypnosis, a little bit of safeguarding, and anybody just wants me to stop, I'm not going to do anything that's like going into core beliefs or serious stuff. So hopefully no one will feel like I'm upsetting anybody. But if anyone just doesn't like it or you want me to stop, just do this and I'll see you because you've got your cameras on. And then I'll just, because obviously if you're on mute, then I'll just stop, okay? Or feel free to just disappear if you're not enjoying it, okay? It's not going to be super long, 20 minutes, 25 minutes. So just keep it short and sweet and just have a little go. That sound all right? Cool. So have you all got your music? Yeah, a thumbs up, yeah? Okay, perfect. So what I'd like you to do to start with, guys, and you can keep your eyes open to begin with, and I'd like you to choose a point in the room that you're sat in. So that might look like a spot on the wall. It might be a little bit of paint somewhere that you could focus your eye on, maybe the corner of a picture frame. But one specific spot in the room that you can focus your eyes. If you can, try and make it a place that's higher than your eye level, but not so high that you need to strain your neck. You want it to feel nice and comfortable. And I want you to keep looking at that point for me and don't look away. You can blink whenever you need to, but it's very important that you return your gaze to your chosen spot as you listen to what I'm saying. Now you can be hypnotized if you wish to, and if you are willing to do so. As I say, by keeping your eyes totally and completely focused on that point. You have already shown me that you're willing to go into hypnosis just by listening to me. But you will only be hypnotized if you really want to be. I can't make you go into hypnosis if you don't want to do so. So do your best to concentrate on that spot and pay close attention to my words and what I have to say. And whatever you feel is going to happen with your eyes as you listen to me, just let that happen. Just let yourself go into hypnosis and enjoy the experience. There may be periods when I go quiet. That is normal when it's a time for reflection. And as you keep listening to my words, concentrating completely and totally on what I'm saying, as you focus on your chosen spot up there, and just feel yourself relaxing more and more as you keep looking only at that point that you have chosen to look at. And soon, very soon, you will notice those eyelids becoming heavy and relaxed as they begin to blink more and more. They will become so heavy that your chosen mark may begin to look fuzzy or blurred, or it may look as though it's wavering gently from side to side, or up and down, or back and forth. But if it does, that's okay. It just means that your eyes are really getting tired and are ready to close. And even though you are focusing completely on that spot as you listen to me, you can be aware that those eyes are becoming heavier and just wanting to close. They may even begin to feel a little strained, as if it's too much effort to keep them open. And soon they will become so heavy that you can barely stop yourself from letting them close. But at first, I want you to try and keep them open. Just try and keep those heavy eyes open, blinking more and more now. Because you know that hypnosis is a very natural and very normal state that often follows intense concentration. And you are concentrating now on your point as you listen to my voice. Because you are getting ready to go into hypnosis. And you really want to experience the good feelings associated with hypnosis. And that is all you need to want to be hypnotized. And because you really want to go into hypnosis, you can find it really easy to let yourself relax and let go. You know that hypnosis is a little like the feeling just before dropping to sleep. Sometimes you may see images floating in and out of your mind, and your mind begins to wander to its own special thoughts. But you know you can hear what is being said in the room. You can hear it, but it doesn't disturb you. You can hear it, but it seems to form part of the background. Let's take a moment to scan the body for any tension. And as we do this, if you wish to close your eyes, you can. But first, I want you to know that next to you is a box. It is a safe box. Imagine that box now. You can use it if any intrusive thoughts or simply passing comments pop up. You can place them in the box and close the lid. And when we are finished, you can choose then to address the thoughts, or you may have decided they hold little positive importance for your future, and so you can let them go. You have the key to the box, and it is your choice. Each time you breathe, your relaxation deepens. Can you allow yourself to have this time? Breathe in and out. As you do so, notice how your breath feels inside your lungs. And as you breathe in and out, your confidence grows. You know you can do this. You know you can give yourself the time, can't you? Notice how your toes are relaxing. Work up from the toes to your ankles and let any tensions release. Lower legs, knees, thighs. Your legs feel so very heavy. Your hips can let go of any tension. Feeling the confidence growing in your bones as the relaxation allows you to change. Your stomach is strong. and your back is supporting you. Brilliant. And as you grow tall with belief, you also feel calm, peaceful. And as your shoulders drop, any feelings of anxiety, just feel them melting away. Gone. If you want them to. Notice your shoulders feeling so comfortable. And that comfortable feeling growing down your arms to your wrists and your hands, the left hand, the right hand, and your fingers. You're deeply relaxed now. Your eyebrows feel so heavy, as though even if you wanted to open your eyes, you couldn't be bothered. Your jawline is loose and free, and your neck supple, confident, assured. And in this moment now, I would like you to imagine a timeline. Now this is your timeline. And somewhere on this timeline is a past, a present, and a future. Take a moment to float out above the timeline, out into the future. You notice you are about 15 minutes after completing the moment, the next goal you told me about earlier in this conversation. You completed this moment fantastically. Wow. You are so happy. Just notice how that moment made you feel. The moment has passed, but the good feelings are staying with you, lingering, almost like they've become part of you. Well done. And now, from that event, we're going to drift backwards through the moment itself. And I'd like you to notice how the events between then and now might want to reevaluate themselves in support of that fantastic moment. And as you slowly make your way back to the present, seeing that moment play through, you are so proud. You knew you could do it. You knew you could give yourself the time. And take off the pressure. You're riding right now. You're back in that moment. And you notice you're riding with such brilliance, such confidence. It's as though you can feel the reins in your fingers in this very moment. And you can just tell that you're sending this confidence down the reins to your horse. The horse is responding so well. You look great. I'm going to give you a moment to enjoy the ride, and you won't hear my voice for a moment or two. Feel what you can, hear what you can, and really turn up the dial on those emotions. Really turn up the feeling. Great. And if you're not already looking this way, watch yourself as though on a movie screen. And notice that you can allow this feeling for yourself, can't you? And ask yourself, what are you waiting for? Why don't you make these changes right now? And as you're watching yourself on the screen, you feel really proud of that image that you can see. The partnership, the competence. Really looks great. The picture looks everything you knew you could be. And now you're in that moment, looking through your own eyes, feeling the saddle beneath your seat and the horse's legs moving beneath you. You're in control. You're relaxed, positive. And just notice as you're riding along, those jaw lines relaxed. Breathing deeply. With the next breath you take in and out, just feel the confidence growing as you ride away right now. Well done. In a moment, you will hear my voice again. When you next hear my voice, you will feel wide awake and refreshed, and confident and assured in yourself. But I'll give you a few more moments to enjoy the ride. Well done, everyone. So let's go 5, waking up. 4, 3, let's give ourselves a little shake. 2, 1, and you can turn your music off when you're ready. How are we doing? We look like we're still here. No one's stayed asleep. That's a good start.
Yeah.
So fill me in. I'm not going to talk at you. How did you find it? Did anyone find it difficult to get into? Did anyone enjoy it? Anyone see the moment? Struggle to see the moment? Give me a hint. How did you get on?
I found it difficult to relax and to stop my mind from. I felt like my mind was just suddenly on overload.
Yeah, and that's a really, really good thing to notice as well, because you tend to find that the people who are quite which I would say you are actually, Emma, that are quite conscious brain when they're riding, so like an overthinker in the saddle, tend to have that problem, that they struggle to switch off the mind. Do you find when you go to sleep that you start thinking about stuff?
Oh yeah, terribly.
Yeah, so it's like the same thing. It's like that moment when your brain waves slow down. It's basically how your brain wants to make sense of all the thoughts that are in your mind. And so if you've got a lot of stuff like either on the horse, you're thinking about so many things you want to do well, but also in your personal life, there'll be stuff going like that you're thinking about. And so when all that comes together, it can be really hard to switch off. So something I usually suggest for people that do have like a racing mind is just to do the relaxation bit on their own. on its own, and practice. And it doesn't even have to be with a recording, but even just like almost like Sally Singleton was saying with the mindfulness talk, just taking that 5 or 10 minutes to actively practice relaxation if it's something that you find difficult, because it will help you on the back of the horse to calm your mind and learn how to be in the present. And it is a skill, it is something to learn and practice. Not learn's probably the wrong word, but get into the habit of and get your body used to being in that state if you're quite an active thinker all the time. So how did you get on once you went past that, once you went into the riding bit?
So so obviously the clinic, so my mind was flitting between the warming up, which obviously we discussed today, and then obviously there's a session of show jumping, a session of cross country, and my mind was flitting between the three because I was thinking, what should I be thinking about? What do I need to concentrate on? And I did keep I sort of kept veering towards the show jumping.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah,
but I did, and then I was thinking, just concentrate, sort of. But I did find it easy to. It was funny, the concentrating on the. So I was concentrating on the corner of my blind at the window.
Yeah.
And I've got my contact lenses in, and I found that my contact lenses were becoming really uncomfortable.
Were they?
So,
yeah.
And I was thinking, is that because I'm focusing on that corner, or is it
Right.
because my eyes are wanting to close? But once I got my eyes closed, they felt comfortable again.
Yeah, maybe they just were getting like you said, because you were focusing so much, you wanted to close your eyes.
So then I was thinking maybe I should have taken that, and that was that sort of distracted me a little bit.
Yeah, it's interesting actually, because when you're in hypnosis, generally what the hypnotist wants you to do is let your mind wander to whatever it wants to go to. So you might find that natural flip between like, oh, should I think about the cross country? Should I think about but then perhaps actually in the end you came more towards the show jumping, which is maybe where more of the how's it going to go is around. But also it's important to just notice for yourself there that you kind of wanted to go into that logical brain, which is what you do on the back of the horse. So you wanted to, rather than feel comfortable letting your mind do whatever it wanted to do, you wanted to take control of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, because I kept thinking, well, I wasn't sure whether I should just let all these thoughts just. I was thinking that I should have just been able to focus on the riding, and everything else sort of just phase into the background. So I was trying really hard to focus my thoughts, but maybe I should have just let it all wander.
Yeah, probably just let it all wander, like if you do it again. And what you'll probably find is the longer the hypnosis, that was super short, what you'd find is if you were sat there for an hour and a half, by that period of time, like the thoughts have organized themselves, and you would also be probably 3 times as relaxed, 4 times as relaxed as you just were as it went on. That way, even if you start quite, oh, I need to put that thought over there, and usually after a little while, even if you're trying to do it logically, it does half organize itself anyway. But that's good. It's good, and it's kind of gives you a little bit of inclination of to like, actually probably the relaxation is the bit that the quiet mind, that's the bit that I need to practice. And if you find it really, really hard to have the quiet mind, a bit of journaling might be good. Just like letting yourself, before you do your relaxation, just let yourself, it's a good time to do it actually, to do your relaxation. Thoughts come, and then just put them all down. And you don't necessarily have to do anything with them or act on them, but just getting them out of your head and into the paper can be really good for quietening the thoughts as well.
I did like listening to the music. I found that relaxing.
Yeah, and actually that is trance music, so it's designed to slow your brainwaves down. So it's something that you could listen to with your own affirmations or just on its own. while you're sitting or relaxing or doing some sort of mundane activity. And that in itself is good for just slowing the brainwaves down, letting your heart rate slow down and letting you come into a slightly more relaxed state. Sharon, how did you get on?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was really like relaxing. I could have easily just kept going and gone to sleep. And I really loved like I wasn't able to like imagine a new scenario. It was like a previous like snippets of when we've had really nice canters in the field and stuff. And I'm feeling really good. And then when you said like to emphasize that, it's like really like imagining myself like laughing and throwing your arms up, no reins, and that was
Nice.
really nice. Yeah, it was good. I
Nice.
really
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And what I'll do is I will put this whole recording as a thing as usual, but what I'll also do is just take out the hypnosis part and send it as a little MP3 like that music. So that if you guys want to listen to it again in your own time, and like you will get, just like anything, you'll get better each time. So so like you might think, oh, I'll take my contact lenses out, or you might just little silly stuff like that though, which can distract you, can't it? Or you might think, oh, this time I might actively, maybe I'll think about this particular place where I'm going to canter. And you can keep growing in it. And also you could listen to it in a month's time and change what it is that you're wanting to do as well. What about yourself, Sue? How did you get on?
You're on mute, Sue.
I can't get off mute. I couldn't do it.
There you are.
I did okay, but I've got a pretty much of an house full downstairs. So I kept sort of like drifting in and out with them, and I needed a wee. I thought, oh my God. But when I were visualising, which I were getting, but I could only get, imagine the school, I could only get a corner, where you set off into canter usually on a corner.
Yeah.
I could get that, but I was only getting like a quarter of it, which I thought were weird because I was blocked from seeing the rest of the canter.
Yeah. So what you could probably do, and your mind can do things like that, if it really doesn't believe that that next bit's going to happen. So what you could do is try to do perhaps some slightly more purpose, like logical, awake visualizations, and make a point of seeing the next bit. And what I normally say is, because what makes it unbelievable is if you think, right, realistically, Carlin's not been doing the full canter. So it probably is likely when he does the first corner that he's going to try and break into trot.
Yeah.
So what I want you to visualize yourself doing is not bothered about that and just quietly, but with assertiveness, hey, back into canter. And see him going back into canter. Maybe that's at B or E. And then completing the next corner and carrying on. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then move on from that visualization to seeing it with no breaking into trot. And the other thing you can do to like break up the in-between bit is, it's absolutely fine. And again, it's personal preference, but for some people this works really well, is to actively make the visualization quite afar from reality. So for example, some people have done it where they're trying to canter in an open space, like Sharon's doing, for example. They're seeing themselves on a beach with the seagulls going and the funfair in the background, and like a situation that's highly unlikely in the near future, but it just feels great. And it just gets the mind thinking like, I like canter. For you, so it might be, you could do something like you're in a dressage arena, but maybe you're going down a really smart, gorgeous dressage arena, and there's some, maybe you're doing a dressage to music, and there's like, I don't know, what's your favorite music in the world, Sue?
I just like a mixture of everything.
Yeah, if you could make a tune for Carlin, what would you go for?
Oh my God, I can't even think of his name now, let alone what else. Probably
Break the song if you like.
probably like something of a George Ezra, something like that. I'd probably go for something like him. Or if I want it to be really classy, Michael Bublé.
Yeah, I like it. Because sometimes music really helps.
Yeah.
And finding some music that, rather than the trance music, that feels like Carling, that feels like canter, and then maybe the visualization isn't your arena, but it's you and Carling doing a prelim to music.
Yeah.
And the music can help your mind go through that moment.
Right. Yeah.
And the great thing about that is you could then take your CD player to the school and play your Michael Bublé while when you go to do your first canter. And it's music is very powerful like that. If you enjoy music, if it tends to change your emotion, it's definitely something that you could have a play and mess about with as well.
I do, because in the car it's the louder the better.
Yeah,
I feel like sometimes it's like one of these boom, boom, boom. So I really want to really play it loud. And then you suddenly look at me and I'm not this sort of young chick or play music. So come on, play music.
But yeah, if it lifts you up, like you could listen to like a tune that you really like, really loud for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you could do your put your whichever the one is for Carlin and listen to that whilst you're doing your visualization. And it's not necessarily a hypnosis, but it would be a really good visualization. And then you could, once you find that really easy, have another go at this hypnosis and see where you're at. It'd be interesting to see if it changes how you felt going through it.
Yeah, so is that why, is it because I'm not believing it that I've only seen quarter of it?
Most likely. Yeah, most likely. Sometimes it's either maybe you don't believe it, or the other thing it could be is if you're genuinely a bit like fearful of that thing. So when you see something, so let's use a non-horsey example. So let's say, for example, someone doesn't like public spaces. But saying to them, could you imagine yourself in a public space, would feel the same anxiety if it was a phobia, let's say, as being in that place. So it depends on the level of fear. So if it's just a little bit of like, it's going to push me out my comfort zone, but I really want to do it, but I do feel a bit anxious, then usually you can visualize it. It might still fill you with a bit of tension, but once I say, and relax your shoulders while you're doing it, you can, and you can get into it. Whereas if it feels like a bit too much, and sometimes that can be quite subconscious, so you might think, no, I really want to do it, but maybe there is something holding you back from it, or maybe it is a bit fearful. And sometimes your brain just finds it easy to go, we're just not going to look at that thing. We're just not going to see it like that. That makes sense? So like a person that doesn't like public spaces, they might say, oh yeah, I saw it, but like there was no one there. Like it was just me. Does that make sense? So they might not see any other people. And they might think, no, I just can't put the other people in. And sometimes that's very conscious, or sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just very subconscious. Or it literally just might have been, Sue, let's not overthink this too much. It just might have been, there's people downstairs, I'm a bit distracted, and the bit that my brain knows the best is cantering the corner, because we've done it loads.
Yeah.
And I just can't see the next bit because it's something I'm going to have to be more proactive about, and I need a wee, and I'm,
Yeah, exactly.
So I won't overthink it too much tonight. Have another go. But if it's something that reoccurs, then I'd be thinking, okay, maybe we need to pay a bit more attention to the next bit.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you said that about only seeing that corner then, Sue, because while you were just talking, I was thinking that, and while I was visualizing my show jumping, I couldn't get round the full course. So it didn't flow round a course. I was just sort of stopping and starting with it, like I'd, maybe jump 1 or 2 or 3 fences and then stop. And then I'd, like, my brain had flicked something else, and then I'd start again.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the same thing.
Yeah, it sounds probable.
I couldn't get it to. I just couldn't get it to do like a whole lovely course.
Yeah, that does sound really probable, and it's kind of what you think is going to happen yet or not. And again, that's where I love personally combining a visualization with the hypnosis. So again, like we said, Sue, go away and think about the canter for yourself. You could visualize a full course and quite actively going through like how you want it to look, how you want it to feel, having some feel-good music in the background, or your trance music, whichever you prefer, and then having another go and seeing if it's changed anything.
Yeah. It's funny because when we first started, like with the background noise, so I could my dishwasher's just finishing downstairs, and I could, you know, when it's bleeping, to turn off. But then as we got going, I realized that I wasn't listening to it. I couldn't hear it anymore.
Yeah.
And it was still going, because it's still going now.
Yeah,
So
it
was
is
still there.
how you focus in. And actually that's part of the skill of focusing your mind. So, you know, like when you're riding, and this is, I'm going off topic a little bit, but hypnosis can be really good for teaching people that struggle to focus when they're riding, and they find that the brain, especially you'd use this more, I suppose, once people start sort of thinking about competing, and maybe they say, I can't stay focused in the moment, I can't perform at my peak because I'm distracted. But equally, some people definitely feel that like that in lessons, you know, there's so much information and then I can't quite stay in the moment. That's quite good practice for that just literally being able to shut out everything else that's going on, and be present right now, is another good thing that would come out of just the relaxation part of it. That's cool. Has anyone got any other questions before I leave you tonight? Hopefully you'll be nice and sleepy, ready for bed now.
No, a lot. I've never really, other than that other session that we had on here, I've never used it before. I think I've always been a bit nervous of it. I think I still am. It's allowing yourself just to sort of be drawn into it, isn't it?
Yeah, and just let your mind be, not try and direct, not try and take control, which is quite hard if you're used to doing that day in, day out. Which is why sometimes it's easier to start with more of an active meditation. Because when your body's physically moving, like I say, it has to be a mundane task, but you can find it easier to switch off to the physical need to direct your thought, and easier to just listen. It won't be quite as effective. It won't have quite the same punch, but it's definitely a good way of starting the brain training, if you like, for the relaxation.
Is it better just to focus on, so like say on the active meditation, if you've got the music on in the back, say if you were walking the dog, and then you've got the music on, and then you start to think about, you know, like a positive, like a good ride and how it felt, you know, do you just concentrate on one episode, you know, one sort of ride? Or because I then again my mind flits to, so it might, you know, I might set off on one competition where I've thought it's gone well, or one riding lesson, and then I suddenly find myself at, you know, somewhere else, and then I think I'm not really concentrating fully on that one, you know, on the first one or whatever.
I'd say it depends on the goal of the meditation. So, for example, if you wanted to do increase your confidence, then I'd say that it's absolutely fine to go to different, you know, like if your brain goes to another good ride, like embrace that. Great. Oh, here's another good ride. Yeah, let's go through that now. You know, like don't be cross about it. If the goal was to practice focus, then I'd say, okay, choose future pace to, for example, the next show jumping competition or the next show jumping session in the school. And if your mind wanders, practice not getting cross at that thought. Because remember, if you ever heard my pink elephant in the room thing, like if you try and get rid of a thought, it's really, you just end up focusing in on that thought. So what you have to do is just like happily let it pass through, but then take your focus back. So let's say you were thinking about warming up for your jumping, you're imagining, right, we're trotting around, we're going over our trot poles, and then you think about, oh, but what about that time we went to Woodnook? And then just think, oh yes, that time at Woodnook, right, okay, trotting over the poles, right, back to them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you're not thinking, oh, stop thinking about that, but you're just like, and back to the poles. That makes sense? And then it becomes easier to be able to learn how to come back to the moment.
Because I think what I'd like to do is just to focus on how we went today, and try and take that. So I've got that really clear in my mind on Tuesday.
Yeah, so I think if you're doing it like that, it's probably quite good to stay in today's ride. And if you go to another time, you could take a positive from it and be like, oh yeah, that did go well, and then back to the session. So you're not thinking, oh God, my mind's wandering, but you are just quietly bringing it back. Probably
Yeah.
why. Yeah. Cool. And again, when you're doing that, like if you want relaxation, the trance music's good. Or you could, and again, this is kind of teetering into anchoring now, which is another thing would be good for you guys to go and recap on within the members area, because it fits really nicely with your hypnosis and your meditation stuff. Is when you're putting like music to your visualizations or your meditations or your hypnosis, you could then make yourself, for example, like a lorry playlist that you listen to on the way to a lesson or on the way to a hack or the way to, when you're going to meet up with your friend and do that canter. And just even if you had someone in the car with you, so you weren't actively listening to that music, it just being there in the background will take your brain back to the place that it was in that hypnosis. Does that make sense? So you can be very clever with your time by incorporating those different sciences together, and then having that little toolbox in your camp when you want to pull it out of the bag. Does that make sense? Takes a bit of forethought and time in the planning, but once you've got it set up, it can be really, really effective. And same with smells, same with different, you could use different stimuli. You don't necessarily have to use music, but if you're interested in anchoring something to your meditation, for example, like with your aromatherapy stuff, you could have a certain smell that you light a candle or an incense or a aromatherapy stick that you put on when you're doing the hypnosis. You then put that smell on or up in the lorry, and without actively thinking about it, you will get some of the benefits coming back from that hypnosis. That makes sense? And it's a really powerful way of using anchoring, because it's quite a prolonged length of time. Anything above 20 minutes with an anchor is really good, and your hypnosis will take you into those heightened emotions, which again the anchoring likes. So that's another thing you could do, is have a little recap of that and incorporate it in. Okay?
Yep.
Yeah. Everyone questions all answered? Good. Are we all going to go give it a go?
Yeah, definitely.
Good. And I'm hoping if anything else, tonight's just giving you a little reminder that actually this is a really useful tool. And like anything, if you use it, it'll only help things, and it's quite a stress-free one. It doesn't take up too much extra time. You can incorporate it quite nicely into what you're doing as well. So give it a go. Let me know how you get on. And even if you're not getting on with something, it's really good to say, because usually there's a workaround or a change we can make. So it's good to let me know that things are going good, but also good if you think, I just can't quite, this little bit, or like Sue said, I just can't visualize that bit of the canter, or Emma saying, that first bit, my mind's racing. There's usually things you can do to help. So speak up when it's not feeling great as well. Okay?
Yeah.
Cool.
So if we want to practice, do we just practice with the music on and or do we listen to the recording?
Probably a bit of both. Yeah, you can do a bit of both. So you could listen to the recording if you want to have that specific guidance. But if you're wanting to do something specific about something else, then you could do it yourself, do it yourself. Just let your mind, don't necessarily have to have a voice. But you can. Does that make sense? So again, it's kind of personal preference. There's a relaxation hypnosis within the portal as well, which is like an hour long, that's just for relaxation for riding. So again, if you wanted to hone in on that, that's one you could go and have a go at. And there's the 2 sessions from Hilary Tempest that are already uploaded. So there's a couple there for you to get your teeth stuck into. And like I say, we've kind of got a boatload now that are just being edited, and then you'll see them filtering through. So there'll be lots to get your teeth stuck into. But that's probably a good place to start, is this little short one. And then having a go with your active meditations, just with the trance music or your own personal music of choice. And then kind of feedback, and we can guide you from there. That's probably what I'd say. Yeah?
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions off this, but if that's all right.
Yeah, I'll just press stop the recording.
Yeah.